It is my honor and privilege to introduce our speaker this afternoon. Um,
Right.
Ben is a very good friend of mine, and he is an experienced professional with a proven track record of creating value and innovation, launching and scaling programs, new businesses, brands in local and international market. Focuses on creating sustainable advantage through human-centered design, contributes highly in the areas of integrated marketing communications, collaboration leadership, and have a particular strength in connecting desirability, viability, and commercial success, results thus delivering positive and valuable change in the organization. Ang haba nun, Pen, pero isa lang ang sasabihin ko that is very close to my heart. Si Pen ay isang totoong kaibigan. He knows how to connect. He knows how to make you feel warm. He knows how to show you're valuable to him. Ladies and gentlemen, my very good friend, Pen Roque. Good afternoon, Pen.
Hi guys. Hello Mike. Hello Eric, and hello
Hi,
to the
Pen.
rest of the team. Kumusta? Thank you Mike. Thank you Mike for that very nice introduction. I'm excited. I'm excited to do conversations with everyone here and to share something that I thought would help the community.
Yeah. You have something to ask Pen, Eric, or we can proceed with this presentation.
Yeah, so as Ben is preparing his slides, so he'll be sharing his screen in a while. We would like to ask our participants to prepare, of course, your pens and papers, not just for your insights, but for a short activity that will be done before Ben ends his talk. So please
Yeah.
make sure that you have those ready. Or there's so many things that you can take from this talk. So I'm sure you'll be needing your pen and papers with you. All right.
All right.
Correct. So if in our sessions with them for ID and Arki, we ask them to prepare a tissue paper. Dito, you will be asked something to do later on towards the last portion of our speaker's talk. And I'm pretty sure, actually, I want to invite also everyone here to participate in the activity. Architect Anna, Ivy, Cynthia, let's all participate because I'm really excited with this talk. Go ahead, Ben.
Sure.
Nako. Hello Ivy.
Hello. Oh my God, Ben, thank you for the invitation. Wow. Hello.
We'll see each other soon. Anyway, let's start. We'll start. I'll start sharing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is not a lecture or a what's what I've said before, and good to hear from Mike and from Eric that this is all about conversation. I think what we all need really right now is to do a lot of conversation and understanding. So very aptly, the topic given to me, or the topic given to me is empathy. And I hope to share with you some ideas and uh, thoughts on how to be more empathic. Okay. Last year, pandemic was really bad for everyone, right? So it took us by surprise, and we never thought that this would happen in our lifetime. And to some people, to some vulnerable sectors, it was difficult. And to some, it gave them optimism, and it gave them challenges. So seeing that this pandemic that we have is an opportunity or a strength that they could move forward. Empathy have been introduced to the world long time ago. I was introduced to empathy or to design thinking in, if I'm not mistaken, 2007, 2008. But it went on, and a lot of researches and a lot of discipline have been put together, one of which is design thinking, which is what I will try to share with you guys. So 2 days ago, I tried to just type in kung ano yung mga top stories on empathy. And immediately, I saw about 20 20 or more stories and 20 or more ideas, 20 or more researches that were put together and are being shared all around the world that can help each and every one of us to look into and hang on to one thing that we all need right now, which is this beautiful world, empathy. And if you look at it right now, just go search Google and look at the top stories. There's a lot of research and there's a lot of documents being presented to us. So it's good. It's really good. But if you look at it and we try to understand the whole thing, saan ba siya nanggaling? How come empathy has become so integral to all of us? Again, this is a conversation, right? So, and how come it gave us hope to some people, and to some people it gave them strength, right? It really, for me, uh, came from this word, which I think is the antithesis of empathy,
Bukas ka. May
complexity.
nakabukas sa'yo. May nakabukas ka ba?
Wala.
May nakabukas. Hmm?
Complexity. Complexity is defined as a state of being intricate, confusing, and complicated, which is what the world has become. The source of complexity has come from all different sources, from culture, from technology, from everything else. But if we try to analyze it, complexity started having when we all had technology, when technology was introduced to us. Uh, it, so according to some thinkers, we all live right now in this what we call age of complexity. So technology, we became the world became borderless. We became open to a lot of things. We hold on to our smartphone to look into ideas, to look into what's happening in Europe, what's happening in the US, and we also do a lot of commerce and transaction in technology. So, also, second is globalization. Uh, we felt before that opening our borders and looking into the other world will make life easier for all of us. But sometimes there's a lot of cultural differences, right? That makes us think, that makes us ask more questions on bakit ba nangyari yon, or why is this happening? And we tend to look into and compare from where we are against where the world is. For example, Philippines right now, we're at the last, if you compare it to other countries, uh, vaccine have not yet been fully provided, right? And compare it to United States of Europe, they're now slowly, really slowly moving forward. So makes our lives, our minds more complex. Lastly, humans, tayo, we people, we are inherently complex, right? The moment we're born and the moment we start going to school, the moment we start encountering and interacting with friends, we start to become more complex. So, uh, design thinking or empathy really has a big role in our daily lives, because in empathy we try to make sense of this mess of complexity. It is in empathy where we make our minds and hearts clear. It gives us clarity. It gives us a clear intent to our destination or to where we want to be. In design, it gives us a clearer view or perspective on the design that we want to establish or create, right? This is what empathy is. Uh, and it's different from sympathy. It's different from fulfillment. It's different from feelings towards the other. I'll share with you a video that kind of gives us a clearer definition of what empathy is.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
All right. So empathy is bridging the gap between what we say, what we do, think, and feel. Empathy allows us to understand people more deeply. It's not very shallow. It really gives us a good perspective of who we are talking to and who we are trying to fill in, right? It puts ourselves in the shoes of our users. For example, in terms of your designing, it gives you a perspective of who will try to live there, right? And lastly, in empathy, we find out what people value versus what they want. Two different things. One thing is different from what you really value in your life, and this is what empathy tries to answer for us. The video tells us two important things about empathy. It is a choice. It is a choice that we have to make and we do every day. And it's a vulnerable choice. What do we mean when we say vulnerable? Vulnerable is what the dictionary said. It's something that is sensitive, right? And it's something that is special. So it's a special choice that we do. It's a special choice that we try to imbibe. It's a special choice that we try to live by every moment, every day, because it changes a lot of things when we acquire or have that discipline called empathy. Because in empathy, we can build more than anything else connections. And connections is defined beautifully by one of my friends as to dream our way into the mind and heart of another and consider how we might feel in that person's situation. That is connection. Connection is about uh, having your mind and your heart uh, belong to one person or to a community or to a movement or to an advocacy. And hopefully, when we connect, we get to understand exactly what that person, what that community, what that movement really stands for, and we can try to build an uplifting moments with them. Okay. This is another video that I thought it describes clearly how empathy is, right? It became viral about 3 years ago. Jimmy Kimmel. Uh, you will see later on how this guy, he was a stand-up comedy, right? And he has this midnight evening show. But it became viral not because of his jokes, but for 13 minutes talking, sharing his story about his son's birth. It was that story that made him more popular, more empathic. In fact, after this one, a lot of people have reached out to him and asked him help and asked him for advices and have become his friends. Truly, for Jimmy Kimmel, it was hard not to be moved with this talk that he did 2 years ago. His words tapped broader issues like healthcare. He was speaking as a father, terrified at the thought of losing his son.
I have a story to tell about something that happened to our family last week. I'm sorry, I try not to get emotional, but it was a scary story. And before I go into it, I want you to know it has a happy ending, okay? So when I'm telling this, don't get too upset. Leave that to me. But a little over a week ago on Friday, April 21st, my wife, Molly, gave birth to a boy, a baby boy. His name is William John Kimmel. If your baby is going to die, and it doesn't have to, it shouldn't matter how much money you make. I think that's something that, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or something else, we all agree on that, right? I saw a lot of families there, and no parent should ever have to decide if they can afford to save their child's life. It just shouldn't happen. Not here.
So, well, you can look at and check out his this viral video 3 years ago. And to me, at this point, every time I watch this video, it really makes me cry. Why? Because it touches something that is close to me. It gave me a glimpse or a feeling that what would happen if my son or my boy gets sick, right? So that's how empathy works. This also, he became more connected, more feelings, and became an advocate for single parents and for parents who cannot afford to bring their child to a nearby hospital. There are other examples on how empathy have become or have been used by other companies and by several companies. Lego, for example, have used design thinking and empathy in rebranding. How? Uh, Reinventing and creating a mindset of being a creator, being creative. That's how Lego works right now. Singapore. Singapore is known to be a smart city, but now it's changing its way by creating and coming up with empathies and empathic designs so that it becomes not just a smart city, but a joyful one. And you're familiar with this show, the Fab Five, right? The Fab Five, if you're familiar with it, it goes through a journey, the journey of their chosen personality, and they try to put together a new personality behind the person, right? Going through the journey is about being empathic, right? You go and try to feel and know exactly how that person is, where, and how he came into that situation. And lastly, one of my favorite shows lately is The Good Doctor. In fact, The Good Doctor had one episode in season 2 that focuses on empathy. But the discipline of how the scriptwriters and everyone else here is understanding and knowing how an autistic child have become successful in his chosen career by being himself, by knowing exactly how to deal around his world. That's empathy. So I'll share with you in the next few slides on how we can be more empathic. Again, I was telling a while ago with the team that there's really no formula. It's not a recipe, but it's something that we know every day. And sometimes we just have to refresh ourselves and uh, and be more sensitive to things that we do and act. Then we can be more empathic in our ways. There are three ways. Again, these are my thoughts. There are three ideas, or there are three disciplines that I think we should look into to become more empathic. Number one is observing. Two is immersing, and the third one is conversing. So it is not about just looking into; it's about listening. When we observe, it's listening with our eyes. So with our eyes wide open. So when we listen with our eyes, we know exactly how the other person is uh, talking and his emotions and his facial reactions, right? Second is immersing through experiencing the human condition ourselves. So we have to be there at that moment so that we can be more empathic. And lastly is conversing, listening as others open up. So being more empathic is really actually listening with our eyes open, listening through experiencing the human conditions ourselves. We have to experience it. And lastly, it's listening as others open up, which is sometimes we tend to forget, right? Because when we talk to people, we try to just listen to words that we want to hear. But if you really have to dig deeper, we have to listen as others really open up. And in opening up, you get to understand and get new insights out of it. Here's a good example on how empathy works by listening and understanding the human condition. One of my favorite films. Enjoy.
No! No, 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 you can't take my rocket to the top! Riley and I are going to the moon! Riley can't be done with me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
I had a whole trip planned for us.
Hey, who's ticklish, huh? Here comes the tickle monster. Hey, Bing Bong, look at this. Oh, here's a fun game. You point to the train station and we all go there. Won't that be fun? Come on, let's go to the train station.
I'm sorry they took your rocket. They took something that you loved. It's gone. Forever.
Sadness. Don't make him feel worse.
Sorry.
It's all I had left of Riley.
I bet you and Riley had great adventures.
Oh, they were wonderful. Once we flew back in time, we had breakfast twice that day.
Sadness.
It sounds amazing. I bet Riley liked it.
Oh, she did. We were best friends.
Yeah, it's sad.
I'm okay now. Come on. The train station is this way.
Oops. Sorry. Anyways, here we realized that sadness did not just try to uh, ask and deliver right, she was able to be
Alipangit na
there
ako ng ano,
at that moment
yung
and
touch
open her
screen.
eyes and try to uh, leave that human condition where Riley was wanted to do. The second one is observing. So observing is not just looking, it is not just being there or taking notes. It's about listening with our eyes. And this is an example.
Thank you. You got to get down. Come on.
Okay. What is this telling us? It's telling us also that when we observe, we need to be open-minded and not that judge too quickly. Okay. A lot of time, instead of empathizing, our first tendency is to judge. So when we observe, our mind should be open to what is unexpected, what is surprising, because it is in the unexpectedness and the surprising ways that we become that we get to her when that we need to get we get to have insights. We get to have those special moments that we've learned from our from the people from the person that we're talking to. And lastly, immersing. Immersing is listening through experiencing the human condition ourselves. We have to be there. We have to fill up that shoe and understand exactly and wear that hat and exactly know how it is to become for example, a patient, to become an elderly, or if you're trying to design a house, how is it to live in a 60 square meter condominium or apartment? In doing that, uh, there are ways to be more immersive. You see it, like actually see it. If you need to see it with eyes or with glasses that are blinded or skull, then we need to do that. We limit ourselves to things that we can do around so that it becomes more realistic. Lastly, is to try to live by and how it is to live by having, for example, uh, walking walking on a wheelchair. This was an experiment done in Korea and in the United States. It's about how to improve on an operating room, right? And then applied it to an MRI station. To do that, the designers tried to film everything that they've seen while lying down on an operations table. And the output or the outcome was amazing. It was something that we felt that really captured everything else because they were able to see what the patients would feel in an MRI station or in an operation room. These are beautiful examples on how things were done. And out of design thinking or being empathic, MRI was never been the same again in Rotterdam, in Stanford, in Ayda Hospital in Korea. They've created a playground. They've created images. They've put in clouds. Mind you, these are not real clouds, but they put in an environment that makes one person really calm before going through a nerve-wracking operations or MRI, right? So here's another example on how we can become more immersive in our ways in designing and in the understanding exactly the environment. There's something wrong there. Anyway, I think there's something wrong with the video. But what we're trying to say here is uh, the environment should be considered in coming up with and doing observation. So the last one is conversing, one of my favorites. So we've talked about listening with our eyes open, listening with through human conditions, and lastly, we listen up as others open up so that we become more intimate with them. There are ways, really, really ways. But one of my favorite is asking the consecutive why. So you can do a lot of ways in talking and making and conversing with people, like asking them about a time that is important or relevant to them, showing them memories or showing them samples of pegs that make people open up more. And the last one is the sell me this pen exercise. But for me, one of the most successful way in conversing with people is asking consecutive whys. Here's why.
The sun hasn't come up yet.
Why?
Because the sun comes up later.
Why?
Well, the Earth goes around, and when it turns a certain amount, the sun shows on the horizon.
Why?
I don't know.
Why? Why don't you know, Papa?
Because I didn't pay attention in school, okay? I didn't listen in class.
Why?
Because I was high all the time. I smoked too much pot.
Why?
I didn't think it would matter.
Why?
I just figured my life would come together on its own. But then I met your mom, and you came along. So now I work at the muffler shop.
Why?
Well, it's too late for me to pursue a career now, and since your mom has a job with benefits, I stay home and I take care of you, because what I make is pretty much just a joke.
Why?
Well, the service economy replaced manufacturing. There's no real jobs in America anymore.
Why?
Okay. The method of asking consecutive whys really will bring us to a lot of things and insights about the person. Or if you're trying to design something for someone, then asking questions like why and how and this, what, where, and when really, really will give us good insights. For example, the questions on why do we exercise? Because it's healthy. And why is it healthy? Because it raises my heart. And why is it important? Because it burns out my calories and so on and so forth, right? Until we found out that one of the reasons why people exercise is, because of social pressure to look fit and to look good. And we've also done one exercise on a colleague of mine who was always late going to work 3 years ago. So we asked the question, why are you always late? And She replied, I'm in a rush because she oversleeps every day. And the alarm goes off. And she goes to bed late at night. And why does she go to bed late at night? Because she watches late night show or whatever is on, right? And why does she do that? Really? It made us understand that for her, it was a stressful day and it was the need for a me time so that the following day, it'll be a better day for her. So it's not about really just sleeping late. It's about having a me time that makes her go to work late in the following day. So three things that I thought would give us a good way to be more empathic is to have a genuine conversation. Remember that empathy begets empathy. Ask a lot of questions. Ask them to tell you the story, maybe good or bad, the experiences around their experiences living in, for example, District 5, right? And probe considerably. When you probe and you ask why, then you try to open a lot of questions. You become part of that whole conversation. Uh, we still have time, right, Mike and Eric? So if it's okay, I'd like to share some prototypes on how design thinking or empathy works and how doing observations, conversation, and listening with eyes open have created this uh, innovation in both in marketing and both in our lives. This is a case study that was done. This was through IDEA. Yeah. PNG have approached the IDEO to come up with a concept specifically for millennials. The case study is reimagining how we do laundry, but the target market or the audience, the millennials. Okay. The cell is Tide removes tough stains, and the audience, the so-called millennials. What we've observed with the millennials is they rarely wash their jeans, and to them, the longer the jeans that's not washed, the longer it looks better. So our observation was jeans hang on the back of a chair looks better when you wear it. So the insight was millennials care about their clothes, and that means not cleaning them. The solution or the observation that became an inspiration was how might we help millennials take care of their clothes without cleaning them? And with this exercise, they were able to come up with this product.
Swash 10-minute clothing care gets clothes looking their best in just a few simple steps. First, hang your clothes on the adjustable hanger. For maximum wrinkle release, pull the fabric tight and attach the smoothing clips. Next, insert a Swash Pods cup, close the door, and select a cycle. The illuminated timer counts down the cycle's completion. The Swash Pods formula neutralizes odors and leaves clothes smelling clean. Then, heat is circulated to restore the fit of clothes that's lost after wear and aid the dewrinkling process. In just 10 minutes, your clothes are at their best, and you're ready to take on whatever your day or night has in store.
Oops, sorry. Okay, the next one is quite relevant to us. This is a very good example on how design thinking and empathy works. 2 years ago, this idea was bought by Amazon, and it was bought by Amazon by millions of dollars, right? So, and now it's being implemented and being executed through Amazon. So it's a Pillpack. The case study is how might we reimagine the pharmacy experience for everyone? So what we've heard in terms of observable is dealing with medications and pharmacy is often worse than the ailment. Seniors having difficulty opening bottles and remembering when to take their meds. So we wonder if this means that people are reassured by services that are straightforward. The answer to that solution was, how might we make dealing with pharmacy more reassuring and straightforward for patients? And here's the answer.
Pillpack is a new kind of pharmacy. We package your medication and deliver it directly to your door. All you have to do is tear and take your next dose. Managing your medication has never been easier. Here's how it works. Each month, we'll sort your meds, including any vitamins and OTCs, into easy-to-open packets. Need other items like inhalers, creams, or testing supplies? We can send those too. We'll work directly with your doctors and insurance to resolve any issues. We'll adjust your medication if your prescriptions change, and we'll automatically handle all of your refills so you never have to worry. If you have questions or need to make an update, our pharmacists are available 24/7. Getting started is easy. You'll need your insurance information and a list of current medications. From there, we'll handle the rest. We'll verify your account and transfer your prescriptions to our pharmacy. You'll receive your first package in just a few weeks. Now, you'll never sort your pills, never stand in line at a pharmacy, and never miss your medication again. It's your medication made easy.
The last example is one of my favorite, and it was in Toronto, right? Toronto, it's a Laneway project. The Laneway has been an inspiration by a lot. In fact, it's an inspiration also of the Manila project and the Pasig project here in the Philippines, and it became a hit not just in Toronto, but have become an advocacy by most people. So we heard that there are a lot of things happening in back alleys and side street. In fact, we've seen that alleys and back street have become more dangerous than livable. A great percentage of crimes happens in dark streets. Laneways have the potential to be vibrant living spaces. So we thought that the insight was, what defines the character of a city is its public spaces and not its private space. Meaning, in Manila, probably the reason why ISCO is trying to put this Manila back to its beauty is it's how the city is being defined, right? So the problem or the inspiration that we thought of, that they thought of at that time is, how might we transform streets or back alleys where strong neighborhood communities and cities can thrive?
Many people see laneways as utilitarian, places for recycling bins, abandoned furniture, and delivery trucks. Often laneways are neglected, seen as unsafe and unsavory places to be avoided. This is largely the laneway experience throughout the city. But are we missing an opportunity? That's an important question to ask, because Toronto is undergoing dramatic change. More people call our city home than ever before. And as urban density increases, so does the need for local, small-scale public space, places to foster community and exchange. Laneways present a tremendous opportunity. The city has more than 2,400 of them, stretching more than 250 linear kilometers. Put together, that's more space than 2/3 of Toronto's High Park. What if we saw these laneways not for what they are, but for what they could become? Can we turn our laneways into safe, vibrant, and interesting spaces? From greenery and informal play space to art and community festivals, could laneways become thriving urban places? It's important to remember that Toronto's vast network of laneways are part of the city's infrastructure. Laneways throughout the city are governed by their own constraints and requirements, from unique access needs to zoning restrictions. That's where the Laneway Project comes in. We've been partnering with communities across Toronto since 2014 to navigate these constraints, to find opportunities, and turn community vision into reality. The Laneway Project is an innovative urban design and planning organization working to realize the potential of laneways. From shaping municipal policy to physically improving safety and attractiveness, we're fundamentally changing the city's relationship to its laneways. Get in touch with us. Let us know about your laneway experience, idea, or initiative.
So the Laneway Project supported the city and other stakeholders in creating laneway-friendly policies. In fact, as what I've said a while ago when we started, there's really no formula behind this. It's a discipline that we really take into when we observe and when we become more sensitive about things on our environment and the things that we wanted to do. And if that idea is to create and uplift human conditions, then you start working on your empathy. So working with people or like-minded people can really make us move further. So inspire, empower, and support communities in undertaking their own laneway improvement projects is ongoing anywhere in the world. Co-create with the business sectors and other social advantage in designing laneways. There was a time that I was approached by the Pasig, and the pitch was to have pedestrian. And I showed this project to them, the Laneway Project. Initially, it was approved, but because of pandemic, it was now being set aside, right? But see, it starts with conversation, it starts with observation, and it starts with that whole commitment of doing that choice, that vulnerable choice, before you proceed to a project. Okay, do we still have time?
Yes.
We do? Okay, guys. Let's do this. It's really just a 2-minute exercise, right? So we call this the Sunset Challenge. How subtle shifts can unlock more creative ways of thinking. So I just want you to just grab a paper and a pencil or a pen that you have right now and draw a sunset. Can we do that now? Yes?
Yes, and we're excited.
Okay, let's do that. 2 minutes or 1 minute, guys. Everyone doing their sunset.
Yes, and so are we.
Okay, last 30 seconds. Okay, are we done?
Yes.
All right. So the idea of this project is to show everyone the sunset that you guys prepared it. If we cannot, do we have the chance to do that, or can we do that just to show it?
Maybe we can ask our participants to open their cameras and just basically show.
Yeah, if
it is that
yeah, if not, do you want me to proceed now or what?
Ben, if we have time, Miss Penny, maybe we can do like a way for the inputs of our attendees to have them shown on screen, even for a moment. Would that be possible?
Yes, Sir Pen will have to stop sharing first so that we can
Okay,
display everyone.
I'll stop sharing. There you go.
All right.
Because Ben, I'm eager to show you my sunset.
Yep.
And this is mine. Go, Michael, show yours. I want to see yours. I want to see everyone's, actually. So turn on your camera. No judgments, remember. And we're in a conversation here. We'd like to open up to each other through our drawings of sunsets. Si Architect Anna is showing hers na, oh. Ayan, so
I'll remove my background.
Ayan, so we're seeing a good number of our participants joining.
Sin and I have no sunset drawings because we're really in the job site.
It's okay.
No problem.
No pen, no pen.
That's
But
okay.
we have, hammers and nails.
So this is my sunset.
Nice.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for those who turned on their cameras and showed us our sunsets. All right, Pen.
Yep. So what did we draw? Anong nakita natin? And you know, from our previous experience or from previous exercises that we did, right? We saw a lot of horizon line. I don't know if this was seen or this was drawn. A lot of trees, a lot of water, birds, sun rays, and mostly what we've seen are horizon line, water, and sun rays.
Yep.
Now, the next exercise is, this is how it looks like, actually. Ito yung nakuha namin previously. So mostly the same, right? Like how you guys did it. Correct? Now, the next exercise, the next one is, I'd like to be more specific. So can you please draw a special sunset you most recently saw? Maybe with a loved one, by your bedside. So it's a special sunset that you remembered, and it's so vivid in your mind. Last 30 seconds, guys. Can we show and tell now? That special sunset that you experienced recently.
Okay, so maybe we can ask our participants to turn on your cameras again and show us your work as we open ourselves up to each other. Ayan.
Mike, can I see yours? Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
So, what do you notice between the first and the second, the first drawing and the second drawing that you guys did in the sunset that you guys? If we compare the first sunset that we drew and then the second one, which was specific,
The second is really site specific. Yeah.
Okay. In our previous exercise, we saw a lot of difference. So we saw a perspective. We saw buildings. We saw one was in a plane, British Airways seeing his sunset. The other one was probably in the by near the bridge, so they saw the sunset by the bridge. So others are in the bedroom. So again, the perspective changes when it's specific, right? So the Sunset Challenge really tells us that how subtle shifts can unlock more creative ways of thinking. If you ask generic questions, definitely you will get generic answers. If you add context to it and reframe the question, it will lead to a broader spectrum of ideas, maybe even more surprising, more meaningful, and more relevant in your lives. In order to reframe questions, you need insights. And to get insights, you really, really need to go in to do empathy. That's where my conversation ends here. I'd like to end with a couple of thoughts that I thought would help you dig deeper in understanding what empathy is. And this is from one of my favorite films recently. It's Minari, right? So to me, the ending of Minari, or what Minari film was all about, it's all about mutual understanding and perspective. Because empathy is what forms friendship. It really tightens existing bonds, whether you're friends, your families, your colleagues, your kainuman, and all those, right? It lets someone else know you'll be there for them, and in turn, he or she will also be there for you. So there's that special bond. Empathy really creates that special bond, and it tightens existing bonds. In order for us to be more empathic, it's not just, we need to start now. And the world really needs each and every one of us to be more empathic. Kasi if we don't get started, baka saan tayo mapunta, right? So that we can start creating impactful design. And remember, when you create impactful design, it's not about how beautiful the work is. It's about creating a change in behavior. It's about transforming a life from nowhere to somewhere, right? And it's about transformative. When we say transformative, there is an automatic change in behavior, a change in perspective, a change in what we want to do and how we want to see things. And we cannot really do this in matter of just one meeting. It's really in the fluency through frequency that can make empathy and the whole discipline works. Lastly, this is one of my favorite quotes, and I think it's very applicable to each and every one here. We spend a lot of time designing the bridge, but not enough time thinking about the people crossing them. This is by Dr. Prabhat Singh. And from Tim Brown of IDEO and design thinking is not about us versus them or us on behalf of them. It is us with them. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from today. Let's all be kind and let's all be human. We can do both, right, at this difficult time. So that's it. That ends my discussion for today. Mike, Eric.
Thank you so much, Ben. That was amazing. I got a lot of insights. Very thought-provoking. What about you, Michael?
Gusto kong sabihin speechless, pero kailan ba naman ako speechless? People who know me, I'm very transparent. I'm not only transparent, but I'm very expressive. You know that, Ben. You know that, Eric. And people who know me know that. So many insights, Ben. So many insights. I don't know where to start. Three things I pick up very important. I love it when you talk about that empathy is about three things: observe, immerse, and converse. This morning, you know this, pen, you know this, Eric. I do reflections though. It's just so timely that when I was doing my journal, may sinulat ako, and I got 2 out of 3 of the things you've mentioned without us talking. And yung title nung journal ko, coming into terms. You know, I just want to highlight that learning starts when we see things differently. With your talk, Pen, I came to see, and I came into terms with a lot of new terms. I know these terms before, but it didn't register to me the way you talked about it. And for me, while I'm saying this, I'm already talking about empathy.
Yeah.
To listen, to understand, and to connect. Ang ganda, Pen. I love your talk so much. And the reason why I said of the 3 words really reverberate in my consciousness, observe, immerse, and converse, is because you gave it a new meaning.
That's
and
right.
the way you put it together. You want to expound and highlight on that, Ben?
Yeah. That's what I've said kanina. Being empathic or being empathic is really, it's a vulnerable choice. And we say vulnerable, it's special, right? Kasi we talk about people. We talk about having, as what the video says, it's more than anything else, it's connecting, right? It's connection. And when we establish that connection, it's not about saying how good or providing special words to that person when that person is not in good condition, but really just connecting with that person. So, and applying it to design, I think, right? The moment you try to connect with your customers or with your users, everything changes. Everything changes. There's a lot of power, as what we've seen kanina in some of the case studies that was presented. The power really is when they try to connect with the audience. Look at Tide, how Tide did it, right? They came up with brands and products specific to millennials. Look at this Pillpack. Pillpack was just an idea really meant for the senior citizens who forgets. Ito yung mga people in Florida who forgets to buy medicine, drink their medicine, and came up with this Pillpack, right? So it's now bought by Amazon, but it's observing how these people, or how we can uplift the conditions of the elderly. It changes the world of taking medicines right now, specifically to our elderly people, which are very important in our lives. Kasi may experience din natin yun sooner or later, right? And lastly, community, right? Having that Laneway Project for me is life-changing. In one of the conversations with Ivy before, sabi ni Ivy, in our own little way, we can make communities and the rural areas more conducive, and farmers will have to have a better life. That for me was very powerful. The same way with Laneway. Laneway was able to became so contagious that each and every one of us was affected, right? Pasig was affected. Manila was affected. They're now creating their own Laneway projects. Right? So, there.
So, thank you, Pen, for that. No? And it's a good connection to the next part, which is basically going to ask our judges for their insight and how do they make sense of this particular talk in their own disciplines of architecture and interior design. All right, so we're going to start with Ivy, since Pen mentioned Ivy.
I start with Ivy.
Sure, sure. I have a question, Pen. Um, is okay. First is empathy always a call to action? So that's my first question. So second, what do you call that when you empathize and then then what do you call empathy with no call to action? Is that still empathy? That's my question.
No, empathy with no. Well, that's not empathy to begin with.
It's
When
not
there's
empathy to begin with.
no, if,
Because
no.
my question is, okay, the Filipinos empathize too much. We're great. We empathize, we sympathize. Is that why it's so easy for us to accept mediocrity? Because we are just such great empathizers? I'm sorry, I'm just curious. I understand how empathy makes great design. That's a given. Because if you listen to your clients and you put their feelings first, you put yourself in their shoes and think about their comfort, your design will intuitively address and be very bespoke for them, and their never-ending gratitude will be the gift of that. But my overarching question, given what the country is undergoing, is can too much empathy not be good, or can in the sense like in the Philippine context where Filipinos, we export our EQ. Why are we the number one service providers in the world? I would
That's
imagine
correct. That's really
because
correct. That's
we
really
export
correct.
our EQ. But in our country, it appears to me lang as an observer, too much EQ fosters a culture of mediocrity.
I
I
agree.
mean, yeah. So
I agree. So that is not empathy, Ivy, right? So we're
okay.
we're really an audience. We're spectators. We're
Okay.
yeah. Uh, well, we were ranked in terms of empathy.
Yes.
In Asia, this
Yes.
was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Next to Singapore, which Singapore has very low empathy. Reason
Yes.
why they put together a department. Remember, look at
Yes.
Singapore, look at
True.
Hong
True.
Kong. They created
Right.
a department similar to a department of communications, tourism. They have a department of a group of people that works on design thinking, which is
Yes.
on empathy, because they don't
Correct.
want to be known to be a smart city. They want to be known as a joyful city.
Okay.
Tayo wala. We're spectator and we are all reactors.
Yes.
We tend to be more sorry to say, but we easily forget and we easily forgive, right? So
Yeah.
that for
Correct.
me is sympathy more than empathy.
Got it.
So
Okay. Thank you.
it is not bad to be sympathetic, right? But
Yes.
pero kailangan natin is more action, right?
And if I may share, because this is a design group, it has happened several times when I walk into a job site, and the first thing that I notice that I don't like is when empathy failed me already. It means I raised the white flag. Nagsawa na ako pakikiusap sa kliyente. Pag i-explain na talaga, trust me, maganda to. Talaga, konting hirit na lang, please. And then when, after 6 months of cajoling, nothing happens and I just go, whatever they want, give it to them. Those are my fails. So parang there's a reason that you intuitively listen to them and sometimes you know the correct answer, but empathy does not. I'm saying batting average naman. If you're a perfectionist, you want to go 100 over 100. So sometimes you'll get 98 over 100 or 95 over 100. The failure will be when you give up and raise the white flag because you just surrendered. And then the client will come back to you and say, sana nakinig ako sa'yo. Too late, the hero. I'm just sharing with you, real life experiences. Yun lang po.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
ITR Ivy. That was a really thought-provoking question, no? Ang ganda. It goes deeper into immediately a call to action, the DNA of empathy, but at the same time, how it looks like in behavior, diba? How it translates to behavior collectively as well as a nation.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. I think I've mentioned this to Mike several times, right? The moment it cannot be impactful if it doesn't change behavior, right, it cannot be transformative if you're not transformed from point A to point V. So I think that's how we can measure using empathy, right? There has to be a lot of paradigm shift. There's a lot of behavioral shift
Exactly.
that's happening.
Um,
Yes, Michael.
yeah. You know, I love it when you said, Eric, that if empathy has a face or if empathy has a form, diba? How will it be or how it would look like? I like it also when Ivy said about the results. When Ivy said about 100/100. So it makes me put the concepts together, and this is not to say that everything has to have a score. It only says or highlights that in everything we do there is a result.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there are no measures, diba? There are only assessments. And you know, it's very critical, and I want to hear also Architect Anna's point of view here, that when we put the mind of the creator or the mind of the designer, both architecture and interior design, and the mind of and the perspective of the client, um there, it's most ideal that there will be a perfect marriage. Ang ganda ng figure na pinakita ni Pen kanina, yung you and I, it's we. I want to know and I want to hear the experience of Architect Anna on situations when there were when the merge the mergence or the meeting of the minds happen. I want to hear the story of Architect Anna. She's smiling already. I'm interested to listen to this.
Yeah,
Architect.
I empathize with Ivy. Her experience about the client, no? It's usually like that. Pero sabi nga ni Pen, it should be we. No, parang marriage lang yan eh. Or partnership, no? In any endeavor. So at first, to be able to empathize, or maybe para mag-empathize tayo in order to get what we want from our partner or from our client, we need to forget ourselves first, no? And emerge natin yung sarili natin dun sa partner natin. And know what his problem is or what his needs are, no? So that we could serve him well. So ganun din sa client, ganun din sa partner. So same method din, no? As in a family. Mother nga eh, no? If we really, put forward always the needs of others, yan ang mother. No? And syempre yung empathy, tatlong stages yan. Una is cognitive, so you have to recognize first ano yung needs. Next is the emotional, so you have to get the feelings, no, and then compassionate and be in one with what your partner or your client needs. So ganun yun, it comes in stages, hindi agad-agad. Pero ang number one talaga is to forget about yourself. No, lumabas ka muna dun sa sarili mo so that you could feel well kung anong needs ng iba. And then later on, maybe we could develop the idea of ano yung gusto natin, and then later we could sometimes it really takes time, no? Most of the time 6 months na or 1 year na nakatira yung kliyente mo or ginagamit niya yung room na dinesign mo before he could realize, I should have listened to you, architect.
There is a question. There is a question in our chat box, and maybe Architect Anna can also answer, and ID or Ivy can answer. So how do you know, how do we determine, this is a question from PUP, so how do we know if a design is empathic, right? How do we know if it's an empathetic design? Let's start with Architect Anna. Architect Anna, how do you know po? How do you see
you would
an
know
empathetic design?
If it has answered the needs, the needs of the user themselves, no? Kung na-gets mo yung yung priority nila in letting you design the project. So the client comes first. Pero syempre, kailangan yung inputs natin as designers, as conceptors to prove to them that you will have a better life after you listen to me. Usually.
Right.
And I'd like to share, siguro lahat kayo nakanood ng Squid Game, no?
Hindi pa ako naka-start, pero yes, I know the hype.
Masyadong masyadong ang tawag yung harsh ang Squid Game. Bloody and full of sex and violence, no? But then beyond that, makikita mo yung development ng tao, how na-develop yung empathy nila. So they went out of themselves, no? Una talaga, they are so engrossed with their own needs, no? It's the money. But then in the end, naku, napaka-spoiler ko kung di pa kayo You know what? I'm really where I am really touched dun sa relationship ng dalawang girls in the last game, in the marble game. Talagang ang ganda because they shared their own story. And nakita mo how empathic, no? The two girls are to each other. So dun ako na-touch, no? Dun ako na-touch na masyado.
Exciting architect, Ana. Manood ako ng Squid Game.
Hindi ko pa rin napapanood.
Ako rin, hindi ko pa rin napapanood.
You know, at first I really stopped, but then all my children watch it, no? So I have to belong. I have to belong. I have to be empathic. And feel what they feel. So, ganyan din siguro sa designer. I was just thinking, you know, it just came to my mind, the Squid Game. You know, at first, I hate them all.
Very relatable po example.
Relatable, yes. Parang kliyente, di ba? I hate this one. Bakit ganyan ang requirements niya, no? Hindi nagja-jibe sa gusto kong gawin sa buhay, no? Talagang exactly too different. But then in the end, na-develop yung characters nila, no? And they realize what is the most important. It's the need of others, not
Thank you for architect.
And I just want to remind you that we as Filipinos, no, the reason why we are called Filipinos is because we feel more. Diba? Sabi nga nila, maraming service providers. Yan din yung sinabi ko sa isang kliyente kong you know, the Koreans, no, they really love to shout. Kung nakipag-usap sila, kala mo talagang nasa geta. Sabi ko, hey, Mr. Kim, please, Mr. Park, will you please stop? Sabi ko, you know, Koreans are different from us Filipinos. You know, the reason why we're called Filipinos is because we feel more. We're more sensitive. We're more sensitive. So, please do not shout. Please do not be angry all the time. Let's be happy in this project, di ba? Minsan kasi they don't realize, no, na meron pang other way. There's a choice, no, between harshness and happiness. Diba?
Yeah. Thank you, Architect Ana, for
diba?
these things.
So, Filipinos feel more.
Feel.
Ang ganda nun. Feel.
F-E-E-L, Filipinos.
Feel.
Yeah. And how about you, Ayda or Ivy? What can you say? How do you know if it's an interior design is empathetic?
I think most clients naman who are truly happy will express their appreciation. You could see it through gestures, you could see it through the sincerity in their faces and their happiness in inhabiting the built environment that you made. In our profession, you will know that you've succeeded in empathetic design. Hindi maitatago. Kasi talagang gagamitin nila, tuwang-tuwa sila yung ginagamit nila kung ano yung dinesign natin for them. So that's really one of the rewards of our profession. I guess you cannot, it cannot be faked. It cannot be faked. I mean, you know, even because continuous yung appreciation at yung joy. Makikita mo pa lang as the for those who are truly involved in the whole process, you could see that as the design is nabubuo from paper to the job site, kung sa interior finishing, nabubuo na interior architecture, na-excite na sila. Tapos sa installation, pagbuo ng super excited sila at super happy. If they're engaged in every step of the way, then you will know na empathetic yung design ninyo because they cannot wait to inhabit the built environment that you created. That's my most honest answer. Thank you
Ganda.
po.
Thank you so much, IDR.
Eric, can I
Michael,
just
yes.
can
Yeah,
I
can I?
just go ahead, Pen. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
yeah,
Pen.
yeah.
Yes,
But
Ben.
yeah. Just to, I don't know if this helps, right? But in design thinking, we always try to measure empathy, or through if there is a desire for it, meaning the desirability is met. So
Right.
desirability talks about emotions, right?
Right.
Then the functionality side, right, wherein how people live by it or with it, right? So desirability, functionality, and the viability, meaning this is where budget comes in, the value proposition comes in, and all of these things comes in. So those three things, I think, if we try to, and every time we come up with a project, I always try to measure the empathy against these three, meaning
Mhm.
may need ba sa tao, what is the functionality behind it, and is it viable or to even pursue that this whole project. So
Right.
those three.
Tama.
Ang ganda. Ang ganda nung tatlo, no? Just desirability, functionality, and viability. Something that we want to see also in the submissions this year, in the design submissions this year, di ba? It's not just beautiful, but there's also a need for it and addresses hopefully United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. But at the same time,
Correct.
it must be able to function. So architecture yan, hinahanap lagi ng ating mga judges, di ba? Tatayo ba to, di ba?
Yeah.
SDG.
Yeah,
Functionality and
Eric,
viability. Yes, Michael.
I want to highlight lang the things that both for the benefit of our students, for our students who are listening, who most probably are creating a more visual representation of this and to put things together. What I'm picking up from the conversation between Pen and Architect Anna and of course IDR Ivy is that what empathy allows is the snowballing of an idea, the emergence of a sprout from a seed, the growing of a plant, and the growing of a nation. So if there will be a face, if there will be a face, if there will be a figure, if there will be a shape of empathy, it's growth. Because the moment we cut empathy is the moment the decay happens. So as in our profession, both in any creative as well, I strongly feel that empathy allows the bloodline to continue from one point to another. If it stops, then it stops. So yeah, I want to echo that learning from the conversation. I want to move forward with this by maybe asking more questions, Eric. I know you have a lot of questions here.
Oh, and Miss Penny is collating the questions already, so we can ask Miss Penny for maybe just one last question. We know this conversation is super fun. I love it, so insightful. We hope we can just like have the whole day talking about this, but then again, no. So Miss Penny, maybe can we have just one question from the things that you've gotten from our
Okay.
participants?
Actually, so far,
Maybe a
we've
common
got
question.
okay. One here says, how can you really determine empathetic design and how do we assess if a certain design is really empathic? This is
Right.
from John Cedric Abarca of PUP.
Yeah, so we were able to answer that question. Are there other questions, pa, Miss Penny, from your
There's one
end?
more. Yes. Since it's a choice, is empathy a right choice all the time? And doesn't empathy tend to make us emotional and cloud our
Yun.
rational thinking?
That's a good question. Sino
That's a
nagtanong
very
yan, Miss
good
Penny?
question.
Ramon Corilla Jr. from CC.
Can
Ayan,
we
so thank you kay
direct
Ramon.
this
Yes, let's hear
question
it.
to Ben?
Yeah.
Ben.
Well, this is my 2 cents worth on that question. No, it doesn't. It shouldn't make you more emotional. Well, to be emotional, I think is good, right? But empathy sets our mind uh, in a clearer perspective. In fact, it should clear out our intent. Meaning, nagkakaroon tayo ng intention more than an objective versus an objective. It's not just a task, but a purpose right now, right? So that's how empathy works. It goes beyond that. But then again, again, that's what I've said a while ago. There are really ways on how to balance things out. The desirability of it, which is on the emotion side, the viability of it, and really the functionality behind the project, right? So it should clear the intentions, right? And more than creating objectives and tasks, it become more purposive, right? And it becomes there's a lot of vision behind it. There.
Wow,
That's
well
my
said.
that's really my that's my
Very
thought.
well said.
Yeah.
Love it,
Yeah, it's
love it, Ben.
beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a different perspective, no, on emotions. Because sometimes maybe we too have our own judgments around emotions.
Kasi ako I've done this exercise in having a project. I try to define the objective first, and then when I do my design thinking, I try to define the project in terms of intent, right?
Mhm.
And when you compare the two, pag nakita mo, oh my gosh, you really have a different output when you talk about intentions, right? Because intentions becomes purer. You become it has a face behind it. It's purer. It's not just a task that you have to check, right? No, it becomes more personal, right?
Right. Yeah, personal and purposeful. A deeper why maybe for the project. And these are the stories, diba, behind the goals. These are the things that we want to see also in the designs themselves. Michael, so we're nearing the end of this design talks.
I
And so,
know.
of course,
Bitin ako.
grabe,
Bitin ako.
ganda, bitin. But this is just the first of the 4 design talks. But
Yeah.
really, so we would like to hear last words from our, of course, speakers first. We'll start with architect Anna. Last few words for our participants, for our designers.
A message for all the prospective joiners for this competition. When we design, do not forget also the use of your heart. No, you feel more the project that you're going to do. Wait lang, medyo. Sorry, I have another meeting kasi.
Namamangka sa dalawang meeting.
Oo, naku, napakataksil ko. I'm so
Istorya
sorry.
ng Zoom. Yan ang istorya ng Zoom. Ako nag-i-install habang nag-zoom.
Ayun no, mga mga hindi maiwasan na pananagutan niya. So yeah, that pananagutan, we design responsibly, no? We are all answerable to all our thoughts, our actions, and our inputs, no? And nandyan tayo until the end, no? From start to end, nandyan tayo with to defend our design, no? And in the end, sana happy lahat. So that would be your utmost goal, that everyone will be happy with your design, because we design with your all, especially with your heart, no? That is how you will show empathy, no? And feeling more.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you po,
Thank you,
Architect
and good
Anna.
luck to everyone. Yeah.
Sending you finger hearts, Korean hearts, Architect. Thank you, Architect Anna. Yeah. Thank you so much. All right. And of course, let's now hear it from IDRIV. IDRIV.
Ay, nako, first off, I would like to thank Pen Roque. Amazing, amazing talk.
Oh, thank
Maraming
you.
salamat. Maraming
Thank you,
salamat.
Ivy.
Learning so much. Okay, to all the stakeholders here who are going to join the competition, and also, of course, the judges, our eyes were all open. What I like most, my takeaway is if intention precedes everything and your intention is clear, so there is no doubt that the output will be special. Yeah, because you will not intend something from the get-go that's mediocre. You will intend something from the get-go that's already impactful. So if you're guided by that, we look forward to your output as judges. We feel that this will be another exciting journey. Good afternoon, and thank you so much.
Ayan. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
IDRIV.
I want to hear what our very good friend Arne yan. So as I said, this is already our mother is here, my ate is here, my younger brother here is here, Eric. So my very good friend, no. Ayoko sabihin since childhood. Pen. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think kanina I've shared one slide there that really encapsulates what we wanted to say. As designers and as people, right? Let's not just build bridges. When we build bridges or when we design things, we really have to think of the people crossing the bridge, right? Then it makes sense. Then it's more important. Then it's more enriching because uh, some bridges are really lonely out there because they're just there standing. But the bridges that passed by, nagsiselfie yung mga tao, diba? Stop by and just enjoy the whole thing. Then the bridge are probably happier, have more feelings behind it. So because the intention really was meant for the people who crosses the bridge. So there you go. Put people at the center, tapos na tayong lahat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Galing,
thank you
Pen.
so much.
You're truly
Oo.
a good friend. Pareho kayo talaga.
And
So,
ako,
ito
I would
magandang
just...
tanong. Magandang tanong, Eric. Para tayo
Yes.
dalawa naman mag-usap. Kung ikaw ay tulay, anong klaseng tulay ka?
Ay, ang ganda naman ng tanong mo. Hindi ako ready dyan. Wala sa script yan. Pero sige.
Sagutin mo.
Oo, gusto ko yung tulay na pwedeng dalawa ang dumaan.
Wow!
Para may kasama ka. Di ba?
Wow!
Correct. Ako naman tanongin mo.
Ayan, Michael, kung ikaw ay isang tulay, anong klaseng tulay ka?
Ang gusto kong tulay, kung ako ay tulay, gusto ko yung umaalog kasi mas may suspense.
Wow!
Diba?
Suspension bridge!
Gusto ko yung suspension bridge. Gusto ko yung tulay na hindi lang connecting people at hindi po tayo nag-advertise dito. Ang gusto kong tulay ay yung tulay na maraming dadaan. Yun.
Ganda. And so with that, really thank you so much, Ben, for this wonderful afternoon. You know, I want to thank you personally because it provided me an opportunity to connect and reconnect with myself. And I think if empathy is all about connection, there's also that aspect of being able to sit with ourselves, right? Being with ourselves and see where we're coming from, our paradigms. Open our minds, listen with our eyes, but just like what Architect Anna said, also with our heart, opening our heart to others and allow them into our space. And lastly, of course, I think very important then with what IDRID said, call to action, because with open minds and open hearts, it must translate into open hands that are willing to do the work for a country, for the future that we all want to be in. That is desirable for all and workable for all. So thank you so much, Ben and Michael.
Yeah. You know, ito sinulat ko to kanina pa. The strongest line that Pen actually said, and I so much resonated with that, is what germinates empathy is the choice to connect. Before you connect to someone, you connect to something within you. As a person journeying in this world, it makes me realize, have I enough things to connect to as much people? Have I grown from the person I was to the person I am? Am I ready to connect to other people? Am I ready to connect my intention, my designs to the future? Thank you so much, Pen. It has been a very great afternoon co-creating the wonderful works of our students. Di ba, Eric?
Yes, definitely. And so we're excited, really excited, of course. Super excited for the submissions this year. Architect Anna and IDR Ivy and I. Thank you so much for joining us, for giving us your insights. And we're happy that we are not judging. Well, hindi man po ako architect or IDR, hindi na mag-judge. Pero for sure, napakahirap po ng trabaho ninyo this year. Yeah. Exciting yan.
So if you think Ivy and Cynthia were making your life easy, no. Wait, there's more.
Challenge us.
Yes.
And thank you so much again.
Yes, Eric.
So thank you po. Thank you.
And and ako, I strongly believe that the learning will never stop. This is just the beginning. Tomorrow we will have the next of the second this week. And next week we will have more, and we will have more conversations. And yeah, Eric and I will be here for you as promised. Eric?
Yes, and thank you so much to those who haven't registered for tomorrow and the other sessions. You can register. And of course, please make sure that you follow our social media channels for Asia Young Designer Awards so that you can be updated for what's going on. And there are a lot of surprises just like this one for all our stakeholders. And so again, thank you so much for joining all of us. We are recognizing all our participants, especially those in the chat box. We are reading your messages, and thank you so much for being with us. Yes, and so we turn this over now to Miss Miss Penny.
Yes, hello. Hold on. I just want to share the screen again with the dates. Okay. So today we had the talk on empathy. Tomorrow, October 22, we will have a different talk. It's going to be about people and technology. And then next week, we have Design Talks Culture and Design Talks Nature. I wanted to let everybody know that these talks are distinct from each other. So it would definitely be a good idea to register again for the others. So it doesn't mean that if you've registered for one, that you're automatically registered for the others also, not necessarily. So please do register for the others as well. And we can assure you that what you heard today is just a sample. There's more to learn in the coming days. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow in the second leg of our design talks. Thank you very much to everyone for joining us.